point, I am going to turn this over to Mr. Sean Krasa. We are going to now transition to our Connecting the Dots panel discussion. Mr. Krasa.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to first begin by thanking all of our students to join us for today. This is a great opportunity to hear about the resources and opportunities when it comes to workforce development. We've had some great presenters today, and I know that as you're getting closer to graduation, you may be getting a little nervous, like, oh, I don't have all my plans and details worked out. That's totally okay. You may have certain parts of your plan started that you're working on, or you may know exactly what you want to do at this point in time, and you may just need a little more guidance to get to that next step. And so what I'd like to do, our panel presentation is going to be broken up into two parts today. The first part, I'm going to introduce a panel member and then ask them a question related to their organization. And there were a couple questions that were already submitted by our panelists, so I added them and kind of built them into our panel discussion today. And then the second part of our panel discussion, I'm going to open it up for questions. I have several questions that were already submitted from our audience today, so I'll be sure to open that up. And then if you have any additional questions, we encourage you to add that to the chat. Also, too, as I'm introducing the panel members, if you could add your name, your title, and organization that you're working with to the chat, that would be very valuable to all of our audience members. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to first begin with introducing Dwayne from the Children's Guild Alliance. Now, when we think about TAWS, and especially this past school year, we have students that have an interest in working during the school day or during the morning, and they're really interested in having a little more flexibility in their academic schedule, meaning they could take high school classes at different times during the day. They could access college classes. So in thinking about the TAWS program, Dwayne, how can TAWS help students balance working with an employer to advance in their career goals while also managing their core academic studies or college classes?
Thank you, Sean. The perfect TAWS student is a student who's already has a job and they're trying to maximize their work potential. And hopefully that work potential is leading them into a career. So what we do, the first thing we do is a transcript review, and we see what courses the students need. And then we're able to apply online courses or work with the high school or work with Montgomery College to provide a schedule. And what we find is that flexible schedule can really work for students. For example, they might work from 9 to 5 during the day, and then they do their coursework in the evening or on the weekends. It is not surprising, I'm sure, that many high school students will do their coursework at midnight, where I'm generally asleep. So their schedules and my schedule are different, but we work the academic program that fits their schedule. And then we make sure that they balance their family life, their schoolwork, and their work environment so that they're healthy and trying to promote their own welfare.
And Dwayne, when they graduate high school, will TAWS continue to work with them and provide supports and resources?
We continue to maintain the relationship and also try to provide opportunities. For example, Gina Marie just talked about apprenticeship opportunities. As they become available, we make sure that our TAWS alumni students are connected with that. What we find, Sean, is that students who generally have to work in high school have to work during college too. And they continue to need that balance. So we stay in contact even after graduation.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. And Gina Marie had an opportunity to talk about Apprenticeship Maryland and our youth apprenticeship program. The next guest I'd like to introduce is Tyler Bloom from Congressional Country Club. And this is a new partnership with MCPS, and we're in the process of setting up a youth apprenticeship program in golf course management. And this is already something that's a registered apprenticeship, but it will be new for the 21-22 school year. So Tyler, could you share with us kind of like a snapshot or summary of what this experience might be like from an employer standpoint?
For an employer at Congressional, I think it's an opportunity to engage some bright young people and introduce them into the golf industry where maybe they had no idea that there were career pathways. And that may lead to managing a golf course, could lead them to being somebody who takes care of irrigation, equipment. So if you're interested in mechanics, sort of STEM-based career paths, it's a really good opportunity. So for Congressional, I think, again, it's dynamic. I will tell you, it's only it's the first golf course in the state for approved apprenticeship. And we're super excited and, honored to be here today.
Great. Thank you, Tyler. And the next guest I'd like to introduce is Jimmy from Montgomery College. Now, we've learned a little bit earlier this morning about industry credentials and Montgomery College classes, and MCPS has a great partnership with Montgomery College. In fact, we know that we have high school students currently taking classes at Montgomery College, and then once they graduate, they continue. So one of the questions from our audience, Jimmy, was, are there scholarship opportunities or financial assistance if I have an interest in taking a college course at MC, or maybe even taking an industry credential like in IT, or it was mentioned the Certified Nursing Assistant certification? Is there financial assistance that students can access?
Yeah, at Montgomery College, we really see the needs for different programs and different kind of financial funding to help students. So we have hundreds of different kinds of scholarships available to credits as well as non-credits. So because there are so many of them, it depends on the program you're trying to pursue. And what I usually suggest a student to do is that if you are looking for a career or a degree program, you may want to go into our website and actually search for the type of scholarship you're looking for, because every one of them is different because there are so many of them. But we do have financial aid and scholarships available for both some non-credits as well as the credits side of the college. So we do have financial fundings, especially if you're coming out and you're trying to get into the credit programs. The states provide American College Promise as well. So depending on your situation, but we do have plenty of different type of scholarships available for students.
Perfect. Thank you. And the next guest I'd like to introduce is Tasha from Greater Washington CoLab. We have a great partnership. And the Greater Washington CoLab is partnered with universities and employers in the greater DC area, from Richmond to Baltimore. And so, Tasha, in thinking about students taking college courses and accessing internship experiences, how can they balance taking their college studies and then the internship experience at the same time to build their resume?
Thanks, Sean. And I also just want to say that I'm joined today by two of our campus ambassadors as well here at the CoLab. They may have introduced themselves already. But I encourage all students to look at internships at every level when they're enrolled in college, from freshman up until their senior level of school. Internships are going to show the jobs and organizations that you have those skills and you're putting them into real world practice. The way the students are balancing them right now is, quite honestly, is they're doing virtual internships. That is what a lot of our students are doing right now, and balancing that with their schoolwork, and they're finding the time to do the virtual internship experience as well as going into their schoolwork.
And Tasha, could you also share a little bit about industry credentialing and badging?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the way the badging works here at the Greater Washington Partnership at Capital CoLab is that students are registered for a set of courses or pathways at one of our 20 universities that we partner with. And so once those students take those courses or pathways, that then leads to a digital badge. That digital badge can then be displayed on your LinkedIn. had students apply them to their actual physical resume as well. And what it allows the companies to do is to see that you have those skills that they need to fill the positions that they're looking for.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. And then the next person I'd like to introduce is Sergeant Slide from the Maryland State Police. And Sergeant Slide, we often have students that are interested in public service and leadership. So they may want to go into the police academy, they may want to go to fire and rescue academy, or even maybe be an EMT to help serve our families and community members in Montgomery County. Could you share a little bit about your story and why you chose to go into a career in law enforcement?
Good afternoon. My story begins from me being a little boy growing up in the inner city of Baltimore. We traveled a lot. My parents, we used to go to New York to visit my uncle, my godmother in Detroit, and, just family vacation. So I always loved seeing state troopers on the highway. I always loved the uniforms, especially the cars. So that was one of the things that drew me to wanting to become a trooper. But then as far as wanting to get in the law enforcement period, it started from, and I'm going to tell on my age now, the Officer Friendly program. When we were in elementary school, we used to have the Officer Friendly, used to come to the schools and talk to us. So I just always said then from elementary school that I wanted to be a police officer. And then I remember in the 70s, the officers used to walk on foot and they would stop and talk to the neighbors. They'd talk to the kids and they let us sit inside the car and play with the radio and the sirens. So again, that's what drew my attention to want to get into law enforcement. So as time went on, I tried. And then another thing too, when the drug scene hit the inner cities very hard, I grew up watching drug dealers selling drugs in my neighborhood. And right then and there, I knew this was my calling because I wanted to make a difference. So that's what put me in a direction of wanting to be into law enforcement, to make a difference in the community. So with that, I would say with the students is just your grades. Keep good grades in school. Of course, stay out of trouble. Watch the company that you keep. Make sure you don't do drugs, because I knew that in order to be a police officer, I had to be squeaky clean. I couldn't have no arrest record, couldn't try drugs or anything of that nature. And that all falls in the line of the EMT side of it too, because we're all first responders, either if you're a police officer, a firefighter, or you're working on the AMBO as a EMS worker.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, Sergeant Slide. And the next person I'd like to introduce on our panel is Natalie from Montgomery County Public Schools. And, oftentimes we think about MCPS as students attending class each day, teachers working with them to help prepare them academically to graduate. But the part I think we often don't realize is that MCPS is probably one of the largest employers in Montgomery County. And there are a number of different opportunities that students could access. So Natalie, could you share a little bit about what career opportunities and job positions that would be available if a student in MCPS had an interest?
Thank you, Sean. Like you mentioned, MCPS is the largest employer in Montgomery County. We have almost 25,000 employees. And like you mentioned, most of the time, the community and students think of us as just a teacher workforce. But in fact, we have almost 10,000 employees who work on the operations side or the supporting services professional side of the house. And MCPS is committed to hiring and maintaining a highly qualified, diverse, and culturally proficient workforce. And in the positions that we have, yes, you can be a teacher, but we also have positions that range from account assistant and budgeting, secretary, auto parts supervisor, working on our diesel buses or now on our green buses, food services, security, communications, TV productions, IT. We have over 500 different job classifications because MCPS, we do most of our work in-house. So there's so many different positions. And the great thing about coming to work for Montgomery County Public Schools is we also offer tuition reimbursement. And we have over 7 teacher pathways for our current employees who want to become a teacher one day. You're able to do that with reduced tuition opportunities and paid internships. So there's not just teaching and MCPS, which is what everyone thinks we do, because that is what we're here for primarily, but we also run the operation side of the business. And so with so many job opportunities available to future employees, the best thing to do would be to look at our comprehensive careers website, where you can just look at job descriptions and browse through just to see, okay, what's the minimum qualification do I need for this? Do I need to go to college for this? Am I able to start right away? So a previous panelist mentioned that a lot of students are going to need to work while they're in college. So MCPS can be a great employer for students who are looking for those opportunities and built-in tuition reimbursement and start and end their career with MCPS.
Agreed. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because Dwayne has been working with us in MCPS, because starting in 2021-22, we'll have our first youth apprenticeship student that's already going to be in MCPS as a youth apprentice in our print shop from Einstein High School. So we're very excited to not only have future students consider MCPS as an employer, but I think youth apprenticeship is a great introduction. And so we're really excited about that work and that journey that we're starting there. The next panel member I'm going to introduce is Miran from WorkSource Montgomery. Now, Miran, you had a great presentation earlier today, and you talked about all the resources and opportunity that WorkSource Montgomery has available for students to access. One of the questions that we got from our panel or from our audience was, if I've never had a job with an employer, or maybe worked for an employer for a very short period of time, will that limit or prevent me from being able to access a job with an employer through WorkSource Montgomery? I think your microphone is on mute.
I'm the one that reminds others usually. So I just want to say what a wonderful opportunity this is for all of us. And I certainly am enjoying it to be on this inaugural panel by MCPS, on workforce development. And may I also say that I'll be reaching out, other than the students, I'll be reaching out to a lot of the panelists here to see how we can partner at WorkSource Montgomery with you, because there seem to be some awesome opportunities, collaborative opportunities. To your question, Sean, to the students' question, yes, absolutely they can. So if they have worked before, even if it's for a month or two or for longer, we welcome them in our program. That does not in any way limit them from joining the program.
Great, thank you. And also, I have 2 student ambassadors. Tasha had mentioned their names earlier, Anika and Jimmy from the Greater Washington CoLab. Jimmy and Anika, when we think about work-based learning and the industry badging that is available through the Greater Washington CoLab partnership, what can you share with our students in the audience? What advice would you give them? What do they need to know about this opportunity? Or if it's totally new to them, where would they find this information as a student?
Hi, everybody. So specifically speaking about the Capital CoLab, Well, actually, let me just start in general. You definitely want to take advantage of your career center. The university's career center has, any university's career center will have a lot of resources for every single student. And specifically speaking about the Capital CoLab program, we offer a digital tech credential program that's geared towards students in all majors, and it'll help you gain technical skills that employers in the Capital region are looking for. And taking these courses, so at VCU, I'm a student at VCU, and for my school, you have to take 4 courses, and after taking those courses, you'll gain technical skills in data analytics and data security, and these are skills that employers in the Capital region are looking for, and taking these courses and having the badge on your resume and LinkedIn really helps employers see that you're serious about the digital tech field, and you'll have streamlined access to internships, mentorships, and you'll also have insight into the job market. And again, all of this, these are things that can only help you. And again, like, I really highly suggest that students take advantage of their career center, career advisors, because they can be very beneficial. They'll give you a lot of information.
And Jimmy, would you like to add?
Hi, my name is Jimmy Chan, and I go to George Mason University. So I also am a CoLab student and also the ambassador for George Mason University as well. So just like how Annika said, very similarly, it's basically like students can be able to take a few courses at George Mason University to gain digital tech skills, coming from like data analysis, analyst, and just very general courses in statistics too. And I do feel like when students do complete those courses and gain a digital badge, it does help students look for internships and jobs as well. And also, like, the Career Center is very helpful as well, because there's like a lot of resources that students can come and also go to their academic advisors as well. Does help. So I do feel like doing the digital tech credential and gaining the digital badge is very helpful as well. And it's also very similar to like getting a certification as well, like when it comes to like security pluses or network plus, because I had a bunch of friends that did certification and it did help them like got a job, like very good jobs, and they got interviews and a job. So I do feel like it's very helpful. So yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Anika and Jimmy. And at this point, we're going to transition to part 2 of the panel discussion. So now that we've had an opportunity for each one of our panel members to answer questions related to either their company or organization or questions in general from our audience, I'm going to open these questions up to panel members to respond to. The first question is, what's the difference between an internship and an apprenticeship?
I can take a stab at that, Sean, if you'd like.
Sure, go ahead, Tasha.
So in my opinion, when working with students in internships and apprenticeships, internships are shorter. So it's usually a few weeks or so, like summer internships. Apprenticeships are a little bit longer. It's years. You're mastering skills at an apprenticeship. So internships, typically some students sometimes get paid for those internships. Sometimes they're not. Apprenticeships, in my opinion, have been paid opportunities, but you are mastering those skills at that work. And internships, you can bounce around. You can do a variety of things that you can maybe take those skills and go other places. But an internship is usually something that's very very crafted into what you're going to do. And that's pretty much the experience I've seen with both.
I'm going to add to it. Thank you. Because to me, internship is a bad word. But usually how we associate it is internships are usually connected with secondary schoolings and things of that nature. So you need to do the work to get credit towards your degree to that nature. With an apprenticeship, you are an employee day one, and it is on the job training. and it's a career path with that particular occupation. So,
and if I could just add, Gina Marie,
please do.
An apprenticeship has a very structured learning of skills, and at the end of the apprenticeship, there is a pay increase because the pay is then tied to the acquisition of those skills. So I think of an internship as more of an experience, where I think of an apprenticeship as a ladder, and there are rungs, and with each rung that you go up, there's a pay change associated with each rung.
I think that was perfectly put.
And I think so as well. Tyler, did you want to add to that before we ask the next question?
Yeah, I think there's certainly, more of a mentorship aspect, that one-on-one instruction, from a supervisor, that I think really makes it unique. Obviously, everybody kind of commented it's really custom tailored, experienced for skill sets and building skill sets, and obviously the pay increase is an added bonus, and you can still get college level credit and unique certifications. So different, in my opinion, than an internship. I look back at my experience where it was only 3 months, and it was really kind of a very generalized approach, and you kind of sometimes felt like you were just a cog in the wheel. Where I think with apprenticeship, it's really giving you a pathway to work for an organization and give you sort of more, I would call, detailed approach to your day.
And one of the questions from our student panel or student audience was, if I choose to do an apprenticeship, can I earn college credit? Or can I do an apprenticeship in college at the same time?
Yes.
Before I have to put a quarter in the jar, I was like, let me unmute. Oh, I'm sorry, Tyler. Did you want to jump on?
I'll jump in on that. At least from what I've seen with business partners is, yes, you can earn college level credit. Oftentimes, whether it's through a community college, a university system, they're looking to basically offer those apprenticeship models as well. So yeah, absolutely.
I find that like I said earlier, we work with all 16 community colleges. A lot of our sponsors use the community colleges as the related instruction provider. So you're technically a student, but you're not a student because you're not incurring that student debt, but you are taking classes at the college. And again, as I said, we work with all the community colleges. So again, if you want to take the classes that you are learning, let's say with an employer who's not using one of the community colleges, they will look over those classes and turn them into college credits for you. So.
Okay. And this next question from our student audience, I think it's for Sergeant Slide. If I choose to go into, let's say, the police academy after I earn my high school diploma, what type of training am I going to have access to? Like, what is that experience like? What can I expect if that's a career I want to go into?
That's a great question. After high school, you're not old enough to become a police officer because you have to be 21 years old to carry a gun. So we have the cadet program where I'm a part-time recruiter. So you can come in as a cadet. You will wear the uniform just like a state trooper. You're basically going to be working alongside a trooper. The cadet has the advantage of learning about the agency because you're around troopers, you see what troopers do, you get the lingo, you learn a lot of their policies and procedures with the agency. And I'm not just going to talk about the state police because you have Montgomery County, they have a cadet program, you have other law enforcement agencies that have cadet programs. So that's the segue of getting you inside the door to law enforcement. And then when you become 20 and a half, then you can apply to become a trooper or a police officer to go into the academy. One of the things that's an advantage with our agency, once you finish the academy, while you're in the academy, you're earning college credits. So once you're done, you can stay another 6 weeks before you go out and do your field training to be cut loose on your own. And those college credits you will earn an associate's degree through us for free. So, so to answer that question, you have to start out in a cadet program first until you reach the age of 20 and a half.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Does that mean that if, let's say I'm not 21 yet, I remember those days, that if I'm in the cadet program, do I kind of get credit when I go into becoming a full police officer or applying for the police officer exam, that type of thing? Is that looked upon as an extra boost towards that?
Correct. Yep, that's an excellent question. So your time goes towards your retirement, because as a trooper, it's a 25-year retirement. So your day of hire, that time goes towards your retirement. So once you transition from cadet to trooper, or just say officer if you're with another agency, that time goes in towards your retirement. So instead of you doing 25 years, you do 22 years. And then also it helps, again, it's your advantage to get promoted sooner. So say a person comes in at 21, but they have to, they're learning from scratch from the academy. The cadet has a head start because they've learned a lot of the things prior to going into the academy. So it's a lot of advantages in going in as a cadet. And you still get the benefits as far as your health benefits, vacation, and things of that nature. Because our current colonel and our previous colonel, they went up through the ranks as they started out as cadets and worked their way up to the head of the state police.
Okay, very good. So the next question for our panel members is going to be focused on industry credentials. And I think for a very long time, we've put a lot of attention and energy on college. And the formula was go to college, get a resume, you'll have a great job. Well, the idea of apprenticeship, we spent a lot of time today talking about that. Industry credentialing is something that's been around for a while, but maybe hasn't got as much attention. So for a high school student, it could be fairly new if they're not at a CTE program like Thomas Edison High School of Technology or Seneca. So I'd like to open it up to the panel to talk a little bit about industry credentials. What are they? What are employers looking for? Why, as a student, would I want to consider doing something of that nature, like taking a course for earning an industry credential?
I can speak to that, from Montgomery College perspective, because we as a college, understand that not all students coming out of high school is going to go to college and get a degree and then, transfer to four-year institutions, get a bachelor degree or something like that. Many of them are simply wanting to get out there, earn a skill, a certain specialty, and then go out and work. And so we have various different types of certifications. Like if you want to go into HR, we have SHRM's certifications. You want to go into building and construction, we have certification for that. If you're good with your hands and you want to work with cars, we have certification for auto mechanics or HVAC technicians. All of these, because we know that these are the trades and skills that are really in demand out there. But not many people are realizing how rewarding these careers can be. Having to go to Montgomery College, for example, much less time than if you were to complete an associate degree or so.
Thank you.
Sean,
go ahead, Dwayne.
My nephew is a really good example. He went to Frostburg State University, got his English degree, couldn't find a job, started going and building up his credentials, help desk, computer repair, has found a wonderful career in IT, but it wasn't his bachelor's degree in English that got him that. It was building up those credentials after he had already graduated. And I don't want to say lessons learned, but it just goes to show you that where, as Jimmy said, where the money is built on those credentials.
Right. Sean, to add to what the others have said, with WorkSource Montgomery as well, that's what we do. With our youth program, we make sure that everyone that comes through our doors has a training, because we're dealing with youth, and resumes don't have any credentials as such on them. And the job market is a competitive place. So we offer, like, as in IT, maybe A+, as I'd mentioned before, networking plus, et cetera. These are all certifications, and these are national certifications. And the earning capacity is amazing. And I always quote the example of the MCPS student. There are others, but of one that just sort of came to us maybe in a 90-day timeline, took the A+, the IT courses, and got employed with an IT firm right here in Bethesda, Maryland, at a starting salary of $42.5. Now, that's a success story. And, there's no cost of the training. It's a win for everybody. So I did want to illustrate that.
And Ken from Montgomery College, thank you for joining us. Did you want to add to the conversation?
Sure. All that everybody has said is very good, and I'm going to re-emphasize something that my friend Ms. Bess has said. There are apprenticeships, and we also offer certifications, and in those certifications, you, within 6 weeks to a year, can change your life. I mean, we all know we want to take summer vacation, and we take that moment, but then we come back and we say, what do we want to do with ourselves? One example I would add to this mix is we have a certificate in apartment maintenance management. Now, some people might say, who cares about, fixing a toilet, or who cares about fixing a door? But if you have a little skill set, you're willing to go through that training, in a year and a half, you can make a 6-figure salary, and you will be somewhere between some education and high school and some education, and you can continue on. There are tremendous opportunities for students to realize their dreams in any way, shape, or form in the resources that are on this call right now. So they got to try them all, because they will find that some will match, some will grow, and they'll be happy. I mean, I'll add one other footnote to the police one. For Montgomery County has a Boy Scout Explorer group. That's time and experience in the county, and you get to learn as well. And you can do that between 14 to about 21 as an explorer. But at that same time, you could also move into being a cadet for the county police. So there are many opportunities for anyone, for law enforcement, you name the career. Montgomery County has an opportunity, just waiting for one of these students to make it big.
Thank you, Ken. And this final question, I'd like to open it up to all the panel members. What words of wisdom or advice would you give our student audience today? I know growing up, I used to always hear my parents say, wait till you get to the real world. And I never really knew what that meant or understood what that meant when I was in high school. But when I became a teacher, it all kind of made sense. We in education spend so much time preparing to take the test. Well, sometimes when you get out into the real world, you take the test first, then you learn the lesson. And I think experience is a great teacher. So if we could just take the last few minutes, and if our panel members could just kind of speak from personal experience, professional experience, what advice would you give our student audience today?
Sean, if I could add, I want to just reassure our students that are watching today. All of us that are on this call today, looking very professional. We know our fields. We know we're enthusiastic about our careers. We didn't start this way. we started and bumbled through and bounced around in our late teens and 20s and 30s and even 40s around different positions, different careers, to see what we would enjoy doing and what we were good at. I didn't start off as an 18-year-old in college thinking I was going to do internal recruitment for a school system. I thought I was going to be a marine biologist. If you can be purposeful with your time, is the best advice that I can give you, because you will learn those lessons, and those will be lessons that you talk about when you are giving examples during an interview for potentially a new career. You want to be really purposeful with your actions, with your networking. Sergeant Stanley, he mentioned being, purposeful with who you're hanging around with, the choices that you're making, and it'll all work out. You'll have a long life to work, believe me, and but be purposeful with it, and know that you'll find your way. If you can latch onto a mentor as soon as possible, someone you can trust that can give you some feedback and advice that's honest. You'll be just fine.
Yeah, and I'd like to jump in as well, along the lines of Natalie. Mentor, finding a mentor. And it's we say find a mentor, and it's not really like going up to someone and asking, will you be my mentor? But I think those relationships develop naturally sometimes, and you don't know that person's being a mentor to you. So I think that's something that has always helped me. I started out as a history major in my undergrad experience, didn't know what I wanted to do, with that degree, and somehow found myself working here at a nonprofit. It was really because I asked people along the way, well, what do you see? Like, what is my skill set? What does this look like? And my mentors were very helpful in saying, you've studied education, so what are you going to do with that? Where are you going to go from here? And I think that was something that I've always held on to. And so I tell all the students now, find that mentor. If it's a peer mentor, even that, and then continue to build your mentorship relationships and nurture those relationships.
I'd also like to add on to that. As a college student, I definitely agree. Like, please take advantage of all of the networking events. Definitely networking. Networking is very important. And also, I found that when I was applying to a lot of internships, I genuinely think of them as something that are entry level, and it leads up to something bigger. And then I would look at the internship requirements, and it would say, you must have experience. And I would be very confused. I'd be like, I need experience. Okay, this is supposed to be my experience. So definitely take advantage. Your college will offer a lot of certifications, a lot of credentials. It's important to research what you would be interested in. And honestly, just try everything. Take part in everything, try everything, find out what you're interested in. And as somebody did mention earlier, be useful with your time, be productive with your time. It's just important to kind of dabble in everything and see what you're interested in and go from there. But definitely networking is really important. And I'd also say take advantage of your professors. They have a lot of connections. Definitely build a relationship with your professors, with your teachers, and take advantage of their resources, because that is a big reason as to why they're there. Yeah.
Absolutely. I always say only you limit you. Mm-hmm. So if you don't try and go for it, how do you know if you're going to succeed or not succeed? But it's funny because I was just having this conversation with a group of my friends, and we always say, when you're in the rule of thumb is when you're in your 20s and 30s and you're trying to get to your goals, surround yourself with people who already have reached those goals so that you can pick their minds and, again, network. And sometimes you have to go for those people who are not in your circle to get their point of view and their perspective, because if you don't have that open mind to see it from a different direction, how do you plan to reach your goals? And worry about, after you reach your goals, is worrying about being around people that are like-minded. So definitely surround yourself with people who have already attained what you want to achieve, and pick their brain as much as you can. So.
Yeah, I want to speak not only from my personal experience, but what we have to offer at Montgomery College is that the reason I recommend students to start out at Montgomery College first, because we have over 100 programs of study, practically anything you want to do in life. And when I first got to college, really, I was an architecture major, and then I switched to chemistry major, and then I ended up with a business degree. So, really, when you go to college and like at a college, it is a very diverse, environment, and you're going to be exposed to different areas of study, different type of people that you may, look up to, idolize, and then you're going to find yourself, and eventually you're going to find something that you're passionate about, and then you start to shift your focus in that area and hopefully find something that you love to do. But it's an exploratory stage after high school, because whatever you want to do right now may not be what you ended up doing. So, give yourself some time to explore the things that potentially will be your career in the end.
I want to add real quick. That's a good point, Jimmy, because that's what I did as a young adult. I went to community college first, and my original major was business management. And then that wound up shifting over into law enforcement, because at the time, corporate America, they were doing a lot of layoffs. And I was like, you know what, I need something that's solid and secure. So I changed my major to criminal justice and fell back on it. But one of the things I would love to leave with the young people is watch what you do at this age now on to your young adult years, because those mistakes you make are going to bite you in the tail later on when you decide you want to grow up and mature and decide you want to get into your career field. Because it's so sad. I see it all the time when we have applicants that try to want to be police officers or EMS. I've seen it where you got into trouble, where you got arrested, to doing drugs. So be mindful of the things that you do now, because time flies and you will be a young adult, and those things will hurt you later on.
Sean, I was going to say, treat every meeting as an interview, treat every conversation as an opportunity. And even if it's $5 a week, open a tax-deferred annuity when you're young. You will not regret it when you're older.
Yeah. I just want to add real quick, don't be afraid to fail, and don't be afraid to get up from your failure. Learn from your mistake, improve, and keep getting better. If I told you how many times I failed, you wouldn't believe me. If I told you how many times I got up, you wouldn't believe me. But I'm here and I'm still working. And they can too. Sorry about that. I'm still learning how to play with this stuff.
Well said. And thank you, all of our panel members, for taking the time to join us today. This is a great opportunity for us to give guidance and remind students of, okay, now you're at that point where you're preparing for graduation and that next stage in life. What is that next chapter? And some great words of wisdom were shared. I think experience is sometimes the best teacher. There's only so much you can learn in a classroom or in a school building before you have to get out and try it and make sense of it. And like Ken said, sometimes you fall down and you got to stand back up and brush yourself off and keep going. You're learning, and sometimes experience is the best teacher. So thank you again, everyone, all of our panel members. Thank you, students, for joining us today. At this point, I'm going to transition back to Alexis.
Hi, thank you so much to our panelists and our presenters today. We are at the end of our live stream broadcast, but we invite our virtual booths. We're going to transition to our virtual booth session. We just had a little technical glitch with the breakout, so we're going to have to recreate those. But for all of you who have been joining us on our YouTube live stream of MCPS TV, we hope that this event was very helpful to you and that you gained a lot. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you again on our MCPS TV channel. Please check out other postings of MCPS, such as our Waymaking series, as well as other public service announcements around counselors and school mental health teams. Again, thank you. And for our attendees that are with us, please hold tight as we get ready to open up the virtual booths.